Hello, everyone, and welcome to this fifth episode of the Gaming Garden podcast, where we discuss everything related to farming games. My name is Josh, I'm your host, and today I'm joined by someone who actually inspired me to start my content creation journey. She's been on YouTube.
Really?
Yes, she's been on YouTube for so long, covering a wide variety of games, including lots of farming sims, older Harvest Moon games. So we'll have a lot of things to talk about today. And her name
hmm
is Isha from Isha Gaming. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation.
Thank you for inviting me. I love your new podcast. I watched all of the episodes.
Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And I think a lot of our listeners may already be familiar with you. But if they are not, who is Isha and what type of content are you creating?
Well, I'm Irene from Northern Norway, and I like to make videos on YouTube about farming games mostly, and also JRPGs, anime style games, RPGs, like basically all the games that I am currently hooked with and addicted with. Reviews and well, just go over there and look.
Yes,
There's
definitely.
a
There
little
there
bit of
will be a
everything.
link in the description. And you seemed a little bit surprised earlier when I said you inspired me to
Yeah.
start content creation. So I've actually
hmm
been watching your videos for a long time. I feel like there was not a lot of people on YouTube talking about Harvest Moon and farming games. So I used to watch
Yeah,
like
that
your
is
old.
correct. That is actually correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was so
I
nice to
felt
see
that way
someone
too.
passionate about these games. And I thought that's something I would love to do one day. But as I'm not a native English speaker, I was very
Me neither.
self-conscious. Yeah, exactly. I was very self-conscious about my accent. And then I saw
Mm.
you and you're from Norway and you were able to do some content and like go through that language barrier and you were seemingly doing pretty well. So it kind
Yeah,
of
I know.
motivated
I
me
mean,
to, yeah,
when it comes to the language, I mean, I just hope people understand me. And yeah, I understand um that it's sometimes just embarrassing when you hear yourself, your accent, and like, oh my god, now I sounded anything but English. That's just how it is. Yeah.
it is.
Anyways, I've been watching your channel for a long while, and I remember your face reveal.
Yeah, that was
So
something.
I was watching your channel way before your face reveal. And also, I loved your story about being a flight attendant. I remember that.
Thank you. That was a lot of
hmm
fun. But now I'm
hmm
doing this full time. So really happy to be doing that as well. You're also doing this full time or do you have a little side thing?
Yeah, full time slash other projects. I take commissions for editing for others. Also, sometimes I have a foot within the door of my newspaper here in town.
Ooh,
Sometimes,
nice.
but I'm
So
doing good. Yeah.
today we have, as soon as you accepted my invitation, I knew what I wanted to talk about with
hmm
you. So, as with every episode, we'll start with this week's releases, and then we will reminisce about old Harvest Moon games, the games that marked our childhood, everything we liked or maybe disliked about these games. Which ones are we going back to? We're going to go through a
hmm
bunch of games, all the ones that we've played. So it's going to be a very nostalgic chat. Or if you're not familiar with these games, you will maybe discover some new things that you may be interested in checking out. And at the end of the podcast, usually we take a look at the news. So we just have one small news. Today we will take a look at the trailer for the Sakuna of Rice and Ruin anime that recently
hmm
started. So we'll take a quick look at that. But first, we'll discuss the game that's releasing this week. So this game is called Horticular. It's releasing on July 11th. Isha, do you know anything about this game?
No, I just watched the trailer, and it looks very like you're managing a lot of things, basically. But it doesn't remind me of anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's a very unique game. So I had
Very
a little bit of
unique.
an early access to it. And it looks a lot like Roller Coaster Tycoon visually.
Oh yeah, yeah, I can totally
Um,
see that.
if our if you're watching the video format of this podcast on YouTube, you'll be able to see some of the footage. But it's an isometric 2D pixel art game that looks a lot like Roller Coaster Tycoon, but you manage a garden. And how it works is that you place different types of soil. So you start and it's just like kind of a desert. And then you grow some grass, some sand, different types of soil. And then you will plant different plants. And then these plants and flowers will attract different critters. And then,
Oh,
so your goal is to build an ecosystem with as much diversity as possible. So with lots of different plants, lots of different critters. And the more stuff you have, and the more your ecosystems are doing well, the more money you get. So then you can buy more land, you can expand, and then you can unlock new types of plants, new types of critters. And I've played this game for about 4 hours, and it is very addictive. It's definitely different. It doesn't play like any other management game. It doesn't play like a farming sim, really. So it is very unique, very fun art
mm.
style, but it's very addictive. Like once you start playing, you have all of these challenges, all of these tasks. So there's always something to do, like another thing to unlock, another thing to work towards. So you never want to stop playing.
Oh, I can
And
totally see that. Yeah.
yeah, I definitely recommend it. And there is a demo currently available on Steam. The game releases on Steam on the 11th. So I do recommend checking it out. Do you
It's
think you'll?
almost
Yeah.
a little like City Skylines, like I mean,
Uh,
like you're viewing it from the top down.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah. The gameplay is very different, but it has that top down kind of management
Yeah.
vibes to it. Other than that, there are not too many releases this week. So let's dive into our main topic. So, Isha, you've been playing Harvest Moon games
Oh
for a
yeah,
long
it's so
time.
good. It's so good to talk to someone else that is like equally as big as a fan of Harvest Moon as I am. And can I ask you, what was your first Harvest Moon?
64.
Good, good.
Yeah.
My first one was the SNES.
Oh, nice. And you have
Yeah.
is it your original cartridge?
No, no, no. This one was sent over to me by a subscriber a few years ago. I originally played Harvest Moon SNES on the computer through emulator in 1998.
Actually, I had a very similar experience with Harvest Moon on the Super Nintendo because I did not have a Super Nintendo as a
Mm-hmm.
kid. So I played Harvest Moon 64 first, and then I wanted to play more of these games. So I downloaded a bunch of emulators to play like the
Yeah.
Game Boy games and the SNES game. So this one was your
Yeah.
first one. What did you think? What was your experience when you first played it?
I think, well, I was like 8 years old, I think, 1998, 99, maybe. And my dad had installed SNES, the emulator, and a bunch of games, maybe like 100 Super Nintendo games. You know, I loved a lot of the games, but there was always like this one game that stood out because it was unlike any other game. Most games back then that I enjoyed anyway were side scrollers or like Zelda Link to the Past. You know, side scrolling platformers like Mario games and such. Also, the earlier Final Fantasy RPGs. But this one was so unique. It was unlike anything. You know, you're living a life on a farm and you slowly work towards something, you know, as you can see now on the screen. That is bringing back so many memories. I spent a lot of time of my life in this game, and I loved it. I loved every moment of it. It was my first experience with a life simulator, a farming game. And also I want to like you could say arguably it's probably the first true life simulator that made it
Yeah.
somewhat big anyway, pioneering everything that is coming after this. Even Stardew Valley developer said that this is the game that he was inspired by. I love it, truly love it. It is such a classic. It is so good. It's so good, so charming, so good. So this game is actually very special to me, very special. Um, and it's so ahead of its time, I want to say. I mean, you collect the wood and the stones, you upgrade your house. I remember even painting my door You can actually paint your house. That was a thing. It's popping up in my head right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. I remember.
Yeah. You could only hold 2 equipments at a time, though. But I found a way to, after a while, that. I mean, now looking back, that is like a restriction, but that is what we had back then.
Yeah, honestly, that
Impressive.
everything that farming sims releasing today have, it really established. It really, like you said, created the genre of farming sims. And without this game, we both wouldn't be doing this podcast today. So it is
Yeah.
such an important game for the genre. It is definitely clunky. Like when you go back to it, like you said, you could only hold 2 items at a time. So you had to like run back and forth your shed all the
Yeah.
time. There were also like lots of little typos, lots of little bugs
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a flawed game. And I know they had to rush the development of the game, so they couldn't include everything they wanted to include in the game.
I remember reading that in an interview, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and I
Good.
think they almost canceled the development as well at one point. So, but I'm so glad the game finally came out. And even though it's flawed, it really created a new genre. This game is important to me, maybe not as much as it is for you because it's my second game. So when I played it,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely felt like it was a step back. There were lots of
Mm-hmm.
things in 64 that were not in this one. Do you think so? Currently, this game is available on the Nintendo Switch Online.
Oh, yeah.
For someone who has never played it, do you think they would still enjoy it? Like someone who played Stardew Valley and like recent farming games, and they want to check out the first farming game, what do you think their experience is going to be like?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just go into it knowing that this is a harder game. It's not holding your hand necessarily. Also, don't put things in the shipping bin after dark because I think then it
Yeah, they
doesn't
won't ship.
count.
They will. Yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah.
Yes.
So that there are small things that the game doesn't tell you. Also, like it's hard to make money in the start of the game. That is so hard. I mean, you have to go up to the mountain and pick like the one berry and carry that all the way down. So you don't really have an inventory system.
Oh, yeah.
Pick a berry and you have to actually hold it in your hand and put it into your shipping bin.
Yeah, you do that like 2 times, and then it's 5 p.m., so you can't do it anymore. Like days were pretty
Yeah.
quick,
Yeah.
so you
It's
really,
a hard game. This is hardcore stuff, but I mean, you can do it. I mean, anyone that likes life sims, I highly recommend that you check out this original, pioneering, unique game that started it all. This is the start of the entire genre in my view.
yeah. I think it's
Highly recommend
definitely
it.
worth checking out just to have an idea of how the genre
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
You're probably not gonna play this for like 30 or 40 hours, but at least do like 1 month in the game or like 1 year. It goes by pretty
Hmm.
quickly because the days are super short. I think it's worth checking out if you just go into the mindset that remember it is an old game, it's not perfect, it doesn't have the most content.
You have to put your mindset back to 1996.
Exactly.
I still think that the graphics are so cute, like the sprites, the pixel sprites of everything. I still think it holds up, like graphically. I think so.
I think so. It is.
Maybe that's nostalgia speaking, but I think it's beautiful,
I
like
think
actual
it is. I
beautiful.
feel like that's one thing with this series. I feel like most games graphically age pretty well. They
Hmm.
always go for like a more cartoony or chibi style in a lot of games, and I feel like it does make it age better than if they were trying to go for like something more realistic.
I think it's so good.
It is really good. And then a few years after that, Harvest
Your
Moon
game.
64 released. So this one was my first Harvest Moon. So back in the day, I had a 64 and I have an older brother. And every week, our mom would give us like $5 to go rent a game at the video rental store. And so we would rent a different game every week. And I remember one week, I was by myself to go rent the game. I wanted to try something new. And I saw this box, like the box art. It's just like this little boy running with a dog.
Yeah.
I was like, what kind of game is this? And like, I couldn't read because the game was in English. I couldn't read English. So like, I didn't know what kind of game it was. I just seemed so different. So I rented it. And then I was like, oh, it's farming. And I just fell in love with it. It was so unexpected. It was so different. It was my first time playing a farming sim. I just was completely obsessed with this game. I was renting it
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And then eventually my parents bought it for me. So it was my first game that I owned. That was like my game. And I remember when I
Oh,
was in second grade, I had chicken pox. So like back in the day, we didn't have like vaccines for that. So I couldn't go to school for like 1 week or like 1 week and a half because I was sick. But I just spent my whole time playing Harvest Moon 64. I couldn't stop playing. I was so obsessed, so addictive, and I
yeah.
just love this game so much. It has pretty much everything the first game has, very similar mechanics, but you've got better graphics, more crops. Also, in
Mm-hmm.
this one, you can ship stuff after 5 p.m. and you will get your money the next day.
Yeah.
The cutscenes, there are like more cutscenes, more characters. It was just so fun. What are your thoughts on this game?
I never played this game as much as I did the Super Nintendo version, and that is probably because, well, for one, I was late into the Nintendo 64. Well, it was released in '98, right? But I got my 64 in, I want to say, in 2000s, maybe 2001. I don't know. I don't
Mm.
remember. But games were so expensive back then that I was very into Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and other games. I never got this game for myself. Also, I don't remember, like in this city where I'm living, I don't remember ever seeing a place where I could rent games.
Oh, really? So every time you wanted to play something new, you had to just buy it?
Yeah, I think
Uh,
so. Yeah, and also, but we did some emulating on the PC, and I did play this one a tiny bit on an emulator, but I don't have the same feelings for this game as you do
mhm.
because I didn't have it,
Yeah, yeah.
like for my own. Yeah,
That makes sense. Kind of me with Harvest Moon Super Nintendo.
yeah.
Yeah, for me, this game is so special. I go back to it almost every year.
Oh,
And
that's
now
so cute.
it's on the Switch. So it's so handy, so convenient
Mm.
to play it. And I know it's just so easy to get back into it. Also, there's so many
It's
like
your comfort game, right?
it is definitely my comfort
Yeah.
game. I know it so well. I've played through it so many times.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's always a fun time to go back to it. And one story that I have with this game, one little thing that happened is that it was my first game that my parents bought me. And I remember they had a really hard time finding that game because it was not really available in the stores and anything like that. So then I got it. And then maybe 1 or 2 years after getting this game, we had a New
Yeah.
Year's Eve party at my place. And then I saw one of my little baby cousins. She was like 2 or 3 years old, and she was playing with the cartridge. And I didn't know what. I was so shy. I didn't say anything. But that's the last time I saw my cartridge. Was my little cousin playing with it. So I don't know if she brought it back home. I don't know if she threw it away. I don't know where the game ended up. But that's the last
Oh
time I saw that
no.
game. So I don't have my original cartridge of Harvest Moon 60. Oh, there's a cat.
There's Nura. It's Nura.
So cute. So I bought it again, but these games are super expensive
Oh yeah, if you want the
nowadays.
original cartridge.
Yeah,
I mean, this one, I think this one goes for $150, maybe.
yeah. Harvest Moon 64 with the box, it's like 400 or 500. It's a
Sorry
lot.
about the intrusion.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
He was like, I wanna be here. I don't know.
Yeah, we have two guests today. We have an extra guest today. So what did you? So after that, so we got Harvest Moon SNES,
hmm
64. Have you played a little bit of Back to Nature?
No,
Okay.
that one I've never played.
So for those who don't know, this game, Harvest Moon Back to Nature, released for the PlayStation 1, and it was originally supposed to be a remake of Harvest Moon 64. So it was supposed to be very similar, but the main team that was working on the series already started working on Save the Homeland, and they gave the development of Back to Nature to a new team that ended up doing a lot of different things. So you would
hmm
recognize most of the characters, but they had different jobs, they have different personalities.
Yeah.
And in the end, it was not really a remake. It ended up being a quite different game. Playing it after playing Harvest Moon 64, it does feel a little bit clunky because you could only move in 4 directions, whereas in Harvest Moon
Okay.
64, you could move in 8
Okay.
directions.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a
Yeah.
downgrade. Yeah.
But yeah, there was more content. There was cooking that finally got added into the game. And then this game got ported to the Game Boy Advance, and it was renamed Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town,
Yeah.
which I know you've played a lot of, right?
This one is up there. This one is right next to the first Harvest Moon, maybe. If I were to make like top 10. Like this one is so up there. This one is so good. All cute footage from Misha Gaming.
Yeah.
Good, good. So
Yeah.
you're watching my save file right now.
Yes.
One of them anyway. Yeah, this one is so freaking good. Like technically, this one is better than the first one. They fixed a lot of the things that was like a downside to the first Harvest Moon. This time around, you have an inventory and like you can swap between your equipment and that was revolutionary. Okay, that was a big huge thing. Also, you could see the kitchen there, a lot of kitchen utensils, where you could do a lot of cooking.
Hmm.
Also, it's just such a beautiful game.
It
Like, look,
is. The
it is so
art is
beautiful.
great. Yeah. And just going back to the inventory a little bit, I forgot to
Mm-hmm.
mention that Harvest Moon 64 had the inventory, but
Mm-hmm.
you had to press start. You had to open the menu every single
Yeah,
time you wanted to change
I know
something.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so with Back to Nature and Mineral Town, you could, for the first time, like easily switch between your
Mm-hmm.
tools and between your items, even though your bag at the beginning was very small. But
Mm-hmm.
it kind
True.
of
That is so
revolutionized
true.
the
Yeah,
inventory.
very much improved upon. Oh my god, this is also bringing back a lot of memories. This one is also very near and dear to my heart. I mean, is this one on the Game Boy Advance Nintendo Switch Online?
It's not. And I
It's not.
don't think it will be because they remade it with Star Citizen and
Yeah,
Friends of Mineral Town.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
But I like the original more than the remake.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, yeah, I
So,
do. This
w-
one, Game Boy Advance version, I
yeah.
do.
So let us know why. What do you prefer in the original over the remake?
Well, maybe that's also nostalgia talking, but I prefer this art style over the one that is in the remake. You
Mm,
know, I don't mind the chibi characters. I like a lot of things. I'm very agreeable, you
yeah.
know. But if I had to choose between those types of graphical style and this one is it. And also, like I said, maybe it's nostalgia talking because this one I played a ton back in the day, like super
Yeah.
back in the day.
I also played quite a bit of this one. I played it late because I did not have a Game Boy Advance. I
Mhm.
had a Nintendo DS, and the DS could play Game Boy Advance games, so I eventually got it,
Mhm.
and it was so much fun. There was just so much more content than. Oh yeah! Oh my gosh, your box still looks so nice. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
I
have
had
my
to buy
original
this.
box.
I bought this box later in life. So this one I got from eBay because I wanted it in my collection and it was expensive. Don't remember. I want to say $120. I
That is
want to say that.
expensive. But
I
it's
want to
worth
say
it though.
that.
If it's a game that means a lot to you, I feel like
Yeah,
it is worth it, like to splurge a little bit and have a
sometimes.
nice box, a nice collection.
Yeah.
And yeah, honestly, this game was great. You could also have the sprites helping you on the farm.
Yeah, the harvest sprites. Yes, as you can see now, you could choose what you wanted them to do. If you
Hmm.
wanted them to take care of the animals or take care of watering the plants, which I really much enjoyed that they
Yes,
did. Also worth mentioning, they released a another version of this game called even more no more
more
friends
friends.
of
Yes,
yeah, where you play as a girl instead of a boy.
yes. Because back in the day, in those games, you could only play as a boy all the time, marry one of the
Hmm.
girls, and
Hmm.
then I believe this game was the first game where I think there was a game on the Game Boy, Harvest Moon GB. I think you could play as a boy or as a girl in the same cartridge.
Hmm.
But at that time, they were often like releasing the girl version like
Yeah,
a year later,
separately.
or
Yeah,
yeah, separately. So
separately.
have you ever played more Friends of Mineral Town?
No, I prefer this one.
Okay.
I mean, no, I never found, I never had the reason to, if you know what I mean. I
Okay.
built my farm on this land.
Yeah, exactly. I know they added a little bit of content as well in More Friends of Mineral Town. A few things were added, but I'm not too
I don't remember what
familiar
that
with
was.
the small
Yeah,
differences. Yeah.
yeah.
And speaking of differences, there are some, like, beside the graphics,
Mm-hmm.
differences between the Game Boy Advance game and the Switch remake. So in the Game Boy Advance game, you had rival marriages. Do you remember the rival marriages?
Yeah, I
So the
think
other
so.
characters could get married, but it's not a thing anymore in the Story of Season series. They kind of left it out. Left
How
it
do you
out.
feel about that? Did you enjoy it? So that you felt a little bit of a competition? That
Yeah, I didn't feel it. For me, it didn't feel too much like competition because I feel like they were not that quick to like get married, and I would usually get married before them. But
mhm.
I feel like it added a little bit more life to the town to see the different
Yeah.
characters getting married to each other.
Mhm.
I know in Harvest Moon 64 they could have a kid as well. I don't remember if the other couples had kids in this one, but I do wish that they would bring these features back in recent games, but I feel like it's not gonna happen because they've not done it in a long time.
No, I mean, in one of your previous podcast episodes, you were talking about you and Peyton, I think. You were talking about how farming games were harder back in the day. Now it's no, I mean, your animals don't get sick anymore. Your animals don't die anymore. Like basically,
Yeah,
generally across the farming genre of games. And things were harder back in the day. I mean, I didn't mind it. I don't mind things having a few, I mean, things being how do I phrase this? Being of consequence. I mean, if I didn't feed my chicken for 7 freaking days, they would die. That may only make sense. But I mean, some people they think that is not cozy. Like, it's kind of like stressful.
yeah.
Where do you stand there? I mean, would you like consequences in a game like this,
I
or
do
just
love to
nothing?
have consequences because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it makes the game more exciting, and I feel like I have to care a little bit more. I have to think a little bit
Yeah.
more about
Mm-hmm.
what I do, and I feel like that's one thing that makes some of these games more memorable. So, for example, if you play this as a kid and your
Mm-hmm.
cow dies for the first time,
Rip.
like you feel sad, right? And then you don't
Yeah.
do that same mistake again. So, like, you learn from it, and
Exactly.
then it's something you remember, and it makes that game more special. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
if everything is going well and like is perfect all the time, there's not as much of these little accidents or like little things that you don't expect. I feel like it's the same in real life.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like if you go traveling somewhere and like something bad happens, it's bad when it happens, but then after that you remember it very fondly. So I feel like
Mhm.
it's kind of similar to that. So I do like having some consequences in my games. So that's one.
Well,
That's why I like
yeah.
going back to these older games too.
Me too. I need to replay a lot of these games again. I mean, right now I'm playing a farming life sim game, Ever After Falls, and
Mm.
you don't even feed your animals in that game. You
Yeah.
can leave
Oh.
them to their own devices.
All right, going back to our Harvest Moon games,
Mm-hmm.
after Friends of Mineral Town, we had for the GameCube Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life.
Oh yeah.
This is also, if you're watching on YouTube, this is also footage from Isha. She has lots of
Yep.
reviews of these older games, so we can see some of your save file here. So
Yeah.
honestly, for me, this game, I played it right after Harvest Moon 64. So I played this one, and then I played Mineral Town.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed because I
Oh
was
yeah.
hoping for this new game to be like all the features of 64 plus more, but you couldn't do too much. Like your house was upgraded automatically instead of like going to the carpenter and like having to collect lumber. The
I
town
know.
was very small. We didn't have like the mountain like we had in 64 that we could explore. There
Mm-hmm.
were not that many characters, not many like real festivals. So I was a little bit disappointed because I felt like there was less content, and also
Mm-hmm.
it was very slow. Like the
Totally.
farming
Yeah.
was so tedious. They fixed that with the remake now. It's like super quick and fun, but the farming was so tedious, so
Mm-hmm.
slow, and yeah, I still enjoyed the game. I enjoyed, like, the graphics were great, the atmosphere was lovely. I loved the gradual seasonal changes. The characters were interesting, even though there were not that many characters. It was the first game where you could age, and
Yeah.
your child would like age as well, and they would get like a different career at the ending, at the end. So it definitely did a lot of new things. Graphically, I think it was like amazing for the time. I think it's still like it's also one of these games that aged pretty well, I would say. But overall, I was disappointed because I wanted more of Harvest Moon 64, and that was not it.
Well, yeah, they stripped away a lot of features, I want to say, in this title.
Mm.
You no longer had to collect stone and lumber, and like you mentioned,
Yeah.
you don't upgrade your own stuff anymore. I feel like with this title, it is so different from everything that came before it. I'm wondering what happened exactly. It's almost like another series. I
Yeah.
mean, and it's so dark. Also, I mean, as you can see, there's no colors that are super popping out. It's very dark, and also there's like an NPC dying, and that was the first one for me.
Oh
If you know
yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like such a dark game. So I don't know what they were trying to do and where they were going with this, but I mean, there you go. There's the
Yeah, Nina.
Nina's
Yeah.
resting. Yeah, what the
Yeah.
hell?
There was a character passing away in Harvest Moon 64 as well. Ellen, the grandma that
Oh,
was sitting in front of the bakery, she could pass away as well. But
mm,
this one, like you said, it was definitely darker. And spoiler, your character would pass away as well at the end. And the creator of the series, Yasuhiro Wada, actually said
mhm,
that this game was the closest to what he first envisioned for the series. So
mhm,
even though it's not my favorite game, it is like his vision, like that's it, like the rural,
mhm,
slow countryside life,
mhm,
focusing on your family and everything like that. And you
mhm,
can tell it's a lot more realistic. So that was his
mhm.
original vision for this game, was that. But I
Yeah.
feel like there was no other game after it. Like that's the only one that it just feels so different.
Mm. But I like the remake. I like what they did with this game remake wise on the Switch.
I also really enjoyed the
Yeah.
remake, even though I
Yeah.
love the darker colors of the original game. I think the remake just improves the gameplay so much.
So much.
Like I said earlier, the farming is so much quicker. I can't go back to the original game. It's just too slow and tedious.
Yeah.
Like Friends of Mineral Town, I can go back to the original, but this one I can't.
I totally agree with you. Totally agree.
Hmm.
Also, I mean, don't get me wrong. I played this game a lot when I was like a really young teenager. Maybe I was 13. I don't know.
Yeah,
Don't remember. But I played it a lot, and I enjoyed it a lot. But as time has passed and time has gone by, there are just better games out there right now.
exactly. Yeah,
Looking back, it's very obvious what the downsides of this game was, and also it's just such a hard game, like economy wise in the beginning of the game.
yeah,
For me, I remember that, but they did good with the remake, and I can stand behind the remake definitely.
yeah,
Even though if you are playing the remake, you will be feeling that it is coming, the source material is coming from an older game. You will still feel some restrictions, some things that you are familiar with this genre having, which it doesn't have.
honestly, it was a great game. I had a good time with it, even though despite its flaws, it was not what I really wanted from Harvest Moon, but I had a great time. And
It's something, I
it is
want to say.
definitely something.
It's
And the game
something.
that came out after that is actually, to this day, my favorite Harvest Moon. This is what
Ooh.
I wanted of A Wonderful Life. It feels
Hmm.
like Harvest Moon 64, but evolved, improved in every single way. Harvest Moon Magical Melody. Have you played this game?
No, this one I skipped actually. Isn't this one out on the GameCube and Wii? It was ported to the Wii. Am I correct? Or do I
Yes, it's on the
remember incorrectly?
GameCube and they ported it to the Wii.
Yeah.
But the GameCube
Yeah.
version is superior because on the Wii you can only play as a boy, whereas on the GameCube you could play as a boy
Hmm.
and as a
Hmm.
girl.
No, I didn't play this much. I mean, I think I bought it on eBay in later years, far after this was new. But I didn't get into it. I don't think so.
Okay.
But I am so happy to hear what you think of this game.
So when this game came out, I was a teenager. I was, I don't know, maybe 13, 14, something like that. When you look at the graphics, like your character looks like a toddler. Like your character looks like a baby. It's very like chibi. Everything is like super cute. So when this game first came out, I was not playing too many farming games because I was like embarrassed of playing them because they were like childish games or like
You
girly
were?
games. Yeah, but then
No.
I still eventually got over it, and I got this game, and
Yeah.
I really really enjoyed it. It has everything you would
You're not
expect.
embarrassed anymore, let's
I'm not
say.
embarrassed anymore. No, I'm. It was just in my teenage years that I was
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
embarrassed.
I know.
Yeah, but honestly, it was so much fun. One of the big features of this game is that you could buy, like when you start the game, you can choose if you want your house to be downtown in the forest or like by the river or by the beach, and like each plot has like a different size. I know like by the beach the soil is not as fertile, so there's each plot has like different properties, and then eventually you can buy more land and you can almost like buy the whole town. You can have 3 houses. I think it's the first game where you can really customize your house. You can move the furniture around however you'd like. You can change the
Ooh.
walls. So I feel like that's a feature that even in modern Story of Seasons games you don't see all the time, or it's not done as well as in this game. You had wild animals you could befriend. I remember there was this dolphin that would bring you to like another little island. I don't remember too much, but there was just so much to do. And also, when you started, the town was pretty. There was not that many people in it. But then, as you befriended other characters, you would have new characters moving in, new shops, and it just felt like very alive. And the graphics were cute. Also, as you can see in the footage right now, you would collect these musical notes, which are kind of like
Mhm.
achievements. So it was just so addictive trying to get all of them. Um, Honestly, I played yesterday to get this footage, and I feel like it
You
holds up.
did?
I did, yeah, and I feel like it
Cute.
holds up so well. It is a little bit slow, like the animations and everything. I wish they were a little bit quicker, but overall, it's such a good game. If anyone has a GameCube or a Wii and you have the chance to play it, I feel like it has lots of features you would expect in a game that comes out in 2024. I feel like it was ahead of its time. And I still have not found since a game that I love as much as this one. It's just,
Really?
it's
Th-
magical.
this
Yes.
it's magical melody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? Do you think this title in particular has remake potential?
I think it does. And I see
Like a
that
Switch remake?
I would love a Story of Seasons Magical Melody. And they've been releasing like remakes in order, right? So Mineral Town, A Wonderful Life. So I feel like Magical Melody could be next. I know a lot of
Mhm.
people want Animal Parade as well as a remake, but Animal Parade
Mhm.
came out later. So I feel like the next remake could be this game. At least that's what I'm hoping for. And recently they're doing like 1 or 2 new games and then 1 remake. So I'm hoping that maybe in a few years everybody gets to play this on the maybe not on the Switch, maybe on the Switch 2 or however
The
it's going to be
next
called. Yeah,
Switch. The
yeah,
next Switch. Looking forward to that. So, do you want to say that this is your favorite Harvest Moon game?
it is my favorite. Yes, there are a few that I've
Nice.
not played yet, like Animal
Yeah.
Parade, but so far this one is my favorite. And as you can see right now, you also had little mini games.
Mhm.
In the title screen, there was like a mini game mode, and you could play as any of the characters, like the different bachelors or bachelorettes. And
Mhm.
yeah, so it was kind of like a little party game. I remember I was playing with one of my cousins, and we were like sometimes just playing little mini games. And so it was my first time playing a Harvest Moon game with someone, right? Because usually all of these games are like really single player experiences.
True.
The main game was single player, but yeah, those mini games were just so fun. The festivals were great, and such a special game. If you have the chance to play it, do it. Yeah.
No, it sounds like a good time. Sounds like you have really fond memories with this one. That is so cute. Good
I
stuff.
really do. I really do. So
Good,
that's
good
it for
stuff.
the GameCube. There was also another Wonderful Life, which was the girl version of A Wonderful Life. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
much, pretty much the same thing with a few differences. But you've also not played that one, right?
No.
No. Okay. So let's jump to the Wii with
Mm.
Harvest Moon Tree of Tranquility.
This one.
Yes, this one.
Actually, not bad. I want to say
Mm-hmm.
that this one was not bad. I was addicted to this game. I mean, even with its flaws, because it has a few of those, it really does, actually. But I had a fun time with this game. And I'm gonna have a look at the footage. Did you play this one?
So this one, so this was on the Wii, and I had a
Mm-hmm.
really hard time finding this game. I had a hard time finding all of the Harvest Moon games because in my town, if you wanted to buy
Mm-hmm.
a game, there were
Mm-hmm.
like two stores. There was like a Walmart and a Zellers. They only had the bigger releases, like the most known games. So a niche series like Harvest Moon was so hard to find. But
Mm-hmm.
eventually, I managed to get it online, and I received my game, and I played for a few days, and then my Wii stopped working. My Wii
Oh no.
died. So I could never I played maybe like 5 or like 10 days of the game, and then my Wii died, and then I have the game now. I could go back to it, but I'm not done it yet. So I have
Mm-hmm.
a little taste of that game, but unfortunately I couldn't play it as much as I wanted to. Very
No,
sad.
it's
Yeah.
really good actually. Except for a few flaws, like I said. In this game, I feel like I had like a clear mission for once. You actually have to collect certain. Kind of, I can compare it to the bundles in Stardew Valley.
Oh yeah.
You had to collect certain materials, fruits, whatever types of things, and you had to bring them to these trees, the trees of tranquility.
Oh yeah.
So that was actually something that you were actively working towards, and I remember that was really exciting. Also, I enjoyed the mines in this one. I spent a ton of time in the mines in this game, even though the mines are really simplistic, but they were, I don't know, fun. They were just fun. Also, I think the music is really good in this title. As you can see, one of the downsides that I want to mention is that I feel like the camera is so zoomed in and you don't necessarily see where you are going. I wish you could like zoom the camera more out from
Oh
your
yeah.
character. That is just a minor thing. And if people were to go back to this game, I mean, pick up this game and or play it for their first time, that is maybe one of the few things that you will notice. Pretty quickly. And farming was good. The animals were good. This one, you could actually have silkworms in this
Oh okay.
title, and that was a new one for me.
Yeah.
That was pretty unique. I like this title. This one I want to say has remake potential, please, because it actually is a Harvest Moon with like a real mission, collecting these items for these trees of tranquility.
The Tree
It's
of
actual
Tranquility. Yeah.
good. So maybe this one is a tiny bit like a underrated title in the Harvest Moon series.
I think so. I feel like not a lot of people talk
I
about
know,
this one.
right?
And I think a big reason for it might be because after that they released Animal Parade, which
Mm-hmm.
was taking place. It had a lot of the same characters, a lot of the same mechanics with more things added. And I feel like they fixed the flaws of this game as well in Animal Parade. So I feel like
Mm-hmm.
most people tend to prefer Animal Parade. Which have you
Yeah,
played? Have you?
no, that one I skipped. I skipped
Yeah,
Animal Parade, but I have seen a ton of reviews. I've heard a lot of people saying that that is one of the best Harvest Moon games. Some people think that is their favorite. I've heard good things.
yeah. I also
And you?
skipped it because my Wii was broken. My Wii was dead. So
Yeah,
after
it
that, I
died.
just I don't know. I think I was playing more on like the PS3. And after my Wii broke, yeah, I bought a
Yeah.
PS3 and I was playing on that.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of farming games on the PS3, so I missed out
Mm-hmm.
on Animal Parade and most of Tree of Tranquility. And one thing that's worth pointing out with Tree of Tranquility and Animal Parade is
Mm-hmm.
that for most of the series, the character design was done by Igusa Matsuyama. So that's the character designer for most of the series. But for these two games, the character design was done by Mika Nunokawa. So it's a very different art style. The
I
characters
didn't know
look
that.
very different. What do you think of like how this game looks like and the
Oh, I
characters?
didn't know that. But I definitely noticed that something had happened. If you look up the official artwork from this game, I mean, you can see it on the cover also.
Hmm.
It is definitely different, and I like it. I like it.
I like it as well. I love the characters in all of the games, but it is nice to see something different.
Hmm.
And I wonder if they make a remake, if they will bring back the same character designer to redo the characters in like a
Oh
more
yeah,
modern style,
that
or
would be
if,
good.
yeah, that would be very, very interesting. So, do you think this game is worth going back to in 2024?
Maybe like for like a weekend game, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if,
Like potentially. I mean, you have to be especially interested in the Harvest Moon series, I feel like,
okay. So,
to begin with, I
yeah.
think.
Would you place it above Wonderful Life?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, this one over Wonderful Life. So, if you have a Wii, uh, check it out. Honestly, I really want them to port or like remake these games because there's so many great games that are
Hmm.
just not that accessible today. They can be expensive or hard to find. Of course, you can do emulation, but I always like to play on the original console and get the like more authentic experience.
But
But
yeah, I'm optimistic actually when it comes to remakes, maybe of Tree of Tranquility or Animal Parade, because in the previous years we have seen what we never thought would happen. At least I was very surprised when I saw that they were working on remaking Friends of Mineral Town.
mhm.
Also, they remade A Wonderful Life. Those were actually surprising announcements to me, so I would not be surprised anymore. I mean, if they say suddenly we are remaking one of these titles, that would actually make sense since they have already surprised me
Yeah,
enough.
they definitely have a pattern now of doing remakes. I'm sure we'll
Yes.
get to see more. We'll talk
Yes.
a bit later about the new game that they've announced, but I wouldn't be surprised if after that we got maybe a remake.
Hmm.
But first, let's talk about, let's jump. So you've not played a lot of the DS games, right? So you've played, the next game we have is Tale of Two Towns. So between Tree of Tranquility and Tale of Two Towns, have you played any other games or you kind of skip them all? Or
I don't remember. I have to look at the list. Which games
there's
are
like
in
Sunshine
between?
Island, Island of Happiness, Harvest Moon DS, Grand
Oh,
Bazaar.
yeah. Skipped all of those. Actual
Okay.
skipped all. Yeah. Did you?
I skipped them as well because
Hmm.
I don't know
Yeah.
why. I didn't have too many games for the Nintendo DS. I was playing more like on home console.
I was
Um,
just playing other titles, I think.
yeah, we were
I
busy.
have no explanation for it.
Hopefully, you get the chance to go back to these older games. I hope I get the chance as well. But yeah, so the one of them that you've played is A Tale of Two Towns
Oh
on
yeah.
the 3DS. So it released for
Hmm.
the DS and then they ported it to the 3DS.
Yeah, and
What do
I
you think of
totally,
this one?
this one is very near and dear to me actually also. I am feeling feelings with this one. It is actually good. So good. This one I could recommend going into today. I mean, I think this one still holds up. It doesn't even need a remake, if you know what I mean. It's still
Hmm.
good. It's actual good. The 3DS version is what I would recommend the most, even though I did hear that it was also good on the DS.
Yeah, I
But
think
I
in
mean,
terms of content, it's pretty much the same, right?
yeah, it's pretty much the
You just get
same.
the 3D on top.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it just looks, I mean, a tiny bit different. Tiny, I think. I mean, the screen is bigger,
yeah,
if
that
that
is
makes
true.
sense.
Yeah,
So you play as a character. As you can see, you can have different outfits, and that is really cute stuff. Also, the bachelors and bachelorettes are really cute in this one. This one was actually one of the games where I had a hard time picking my bachelor. If you know
mm,
what I mean. Which one do I want? There are two towns, as it's
yeah.
implied
It's
in the
the
name.
first game in the series with two towns. So that was
Hmm.
after that they did trio of towns, but yeah. So that was
Hmm.
brand new, and you
And
could choose.
there is a mountain in between these two towns, and you when you get your horse, you just ride up the mountain and down to the other side, and there's like a whole community in both of these towns. It's so cozy, so good. There you have the mountain. And oh my god, I want to replay this one. I have fond memories with it. So good.
Which town did you go for? So there's like Western town, I think that's more focused on animals, and then there's like a Japanese style
Oh, I like them
town
both.
that
I
was
like them
more
both
focused
so
on like
much.
animals. Yeah, on
Yeah.
crops. I mean,
I love the music in the more like a Japanese themed town. The
mm,
music there is so good. Also, and in the other town, it is I like the characters that lived in the first town the most, probably. I grew to know them the most. There you go, as you can see in the gameplay, riding up the mountain.
yeah.
And I did a lot of riding between the towns, let's just
It
say.
was you spend a lot of time, and there's a lot of like mountain, lots of like foraging areas. I feel like in a lot of these games, there's not too much outside of town, but I feel like in this one, they started adding more. Like you had little bugs. I think there was bug catching too in this game.
Fishing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fishing, bug
You
catching.
pick up the fish from the rivers.
Oh yes, I remember that. Yeah,
It's so
yeah, you
funny.
just pick them up with your hands.
Also, when you're watering your crops in this one, you can just stand in one place and water it, and the water will go and flow to all of the crops. And that was a feature that I really much enjoyed, which I'm not
Yeah,
seeing anyone else doing. And I don't think I've seen that feature, that watering the crops
that was so
feature,
fun. Yeah,
in any other title. That was so fun, actually. So, yeah, this title has things that I want to see more of.
yeah, it's such a unique game, and that's one thing I love about this series. I feel like every game is just they're all foreign games, but they all feel so different with their own
Mm-hmm.
like gimmicks, their own mechanics. So it was so fun
Mm-hmm.
to see the two towns, and then your goal was to like unite because they were fighting
Mm-hmm.
between the two towns. Your goal was to unite them,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was new. Yeah, the watering was different as well. It definitely holds up very well. I've
This one
not,
is so
yeah,
good. Play it today, I want to say, to the listeners and watchers, viewers.
yeah. If you have a 3DS, it's definitely like it holds up. Most of the 3DS games, I feel like you can play them today, and it doesn't feel like an old game or anything like that. After
Mm-hmm.
that, there was Harvest Moon, A New Beginning.
Ah, this one is so good. This one is way up there. This is next to this one is actually way sharing first space with Friends of Mineral Town and the first SNES for
Ooh.
nostalgia reason. This one is so freaking good. A new beginning. As you can see in the gameplay, it's looking very much. It's sort of taking the shape and form into what we know now as Story of Seasons. If you see
I
the
think
art
so. Yeah.
style, yeah, this is where you can see the how the Story of Seasons has evolved, which is basically the same thing. It's the same series, yes. But in this title, it was a lot of focus on foraging, as you can see. I had like a specific like route that I was going every single day
Me
in
too.
game day. Yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna go here and do that and do mining here and pick all of the forage. Like, and I went in a circle. I had my own like little routine in the
Hmm.
game. Also, you could customize your entire town. You can pick up the buildings and place them wherever you wanted to. And I found that to be so exciting and fun and good.
Yeah. I,
This game is so good. It's like a 10 out of 10 Harvest Moon.
honestly, it is so good. Just like I said earlier, like Tale of Two Towns had a mountain, but this
Hmm.
one was even more like the foraging area was just so
Yeah.
large. And I liked how you unlocked a little bit more of it, like little by little. Like there
Hmm.
would be maybe like a stump in the way, or like you would unlock a mushroom to jump on. Like at first it was very small, but then you would just get access to more and more areas.
Hmm.
And that's one thing I remember about this game is that the progression was a little bit slow at the beginning, but then once you start unlocking stuff, it feels very rewarding.
Hmm.
Decorating, like building the town from scratch, basically was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I want to see that in a newer games where you can, yeah, just decide where each building is.
Yeah. Convenient.
Yeah. Customizing the town was very convenient because you could, for example, put the shop you go to every day, like
Oh
the
yeah.
seed shop, you could put it near your house. And then a character you don't like, you could put their house like
I know, right?
at the complete opposite end of town. So you
Absolutely.
could really like make your town fit your needs. And then you could
Mm-hmm.
place like benches and like little things. Also, I
Absolutely.
think in this one you had like rice. Oh, maybe in Tales of Two Town you had rice as well. But I
Mm-hmm.
remember you had like these rice patties, which
Mm-hmm.
you also just watered, like you watered all of them at the
Yeah,
same time.
true. I
Yeah,
had almost forgotten about that.
yeah,
Yeah, that is correct.
yeah.
It's been a while. It's
It's
been a
been a while,
really
yeah.
long while since I played this. So it's not fresh in my memory at all.
Me too. I played it when it first came out, I think 2016 or something like that.
Yeah.
And one thing worth pointing out is that this was the last game in the series with the Harvest Moon name. I think most people are familiar with the story, but this series started, it's called Bokujo Monogatari in Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and it belongs to Marvelous, who develops and publishes the games in Japan. And up to that game was the last one. They were localized in the West by Natsume,
Mm-hmm.
who and they changed the name to Harvest Moon. But then after that game, Marvelous acquired a company called Exceed, and Exceed was doing localizations of lots of Japanese games. So they started using them to
Yeah.
localize the games. But the thing is, Natsume still had the rights to the Harvest Moon name and logo and branding. So Marvelous had to change the name to Story of Seasons, which is a little bit closer to the original Japanese title, which means ranch story. So now there's a lot of confusion with some people because now Natsume
Oh yeah.
is making their own games with the Harvest Moon name that they
Natsume
got to
wanted to
keep.
confuse everyone. Yes.
But Natsume was only translating the first Harvest Moon games that were made by Marvelous, who now makes the Story of Seasons game. So there is some confusion, but any Harvest Moon game that released after a new beginning is actually like a different series. So if
Mm-hmm.
anyone's confused, I know I have lots of people who tell me that they used to play Harvest Moon as a kid and then they wanted to get back into the series and they
Oh
bought
no.
like Harvest Moon One World or something like that and they got
Oh
really
no.
disappointed.
Of
Uh,
course they did.
yeah. The Natsume games are getting better though. Like I feel like Winds of
They
Antos
are improving, yes.
is a step in the right direction.
Yeah,
Uh,
Winds of Anthos was a really big step in the correct
mhm,
direction.
yeah.
Exactly.
And now they're
True.
working on a mobile game. So it's nice. It's nice that they're improving the quality and now we get more choice. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to feel that they're still using the Harvest Moon name and it's confusing a lot of people.
Yeah, I know, right? It doesn't
Yeah,
sit right with me.
I know. I wish they would have changed the name, but I get why they do it because they have that name that,
Marketing.
yeah, exactly.
It's a powerful name.
Yeah,
You know, before Stardew Valley, people used Harvest Moon to describe the entire genre.
yeah.
But
And
then
now people
Stardew
use
Valley came
Stardew
around.
Valley.
Yeah.
This game is like Stardew Valley. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is how it was and how it is now. Yes. But
Yeah.
we used to say it plays like Harvest Moon. That was like the go-to phrase when we were
Yeah.
referring to a farming game.
No one says that anymore.
No,
That's
no
sad.
one says it plays like Harvest Moon. I want to say that in my next video. Let's talk about farming games. They play like Harvest Moon. I'm gonna say that.
You should, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's so nice to be able to chat with someone who has played these older games because I feel like a lot of people got into farming sims after Stardew Valley.
Yeah. There was a
And
time before and after Stardew Valley. That was the pillar in time that divided us, everyone. Yeah.
definitely, even the Story of Seasons games that released after Stardew Valley, like in Olive Town, they added like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of crafters, a lot of crafting. Like they took some features from
Mm-hmm.
Stardew Valley, so you can definitely feel the inspiration and like it had a big impact, but it is definitely making a big difference in the landscape of farming sims. So
Mm-hmm.
these were all of the old Harvest Moon games that we played in our childhood. Honestly, lots of great games, between all of the games we talked about, if you had to pick one favorite, I know there's lots of great ones in there. Which one would it be for you?
But I have three that are like first place. The
It,
first Harvest Moon and Friends of Mineral Town and A New Beginning. But if I had to choose one
yeah,
to play for the rest of my life, let's say,
yeah.
maybe the first one.
The first one.
Nostalgia.
Yeah,
Nostalgia is so
nostalgia.
hard.
It's tough, right?
But technically, I want to add this. Technically, Friends of Mineral Town is perhaps the best one.
Hmm. I can,
Hmm.
yeah, I can see that. For me, I'm in a similar boat. I have Harvest Moon 64, which I have a lot of nostalgia for,
Yeah.
and I feel like the game still holds up, even though like it's not perfect. It still holds up, and I go back to it frequently. But if I had to pick just one favorite, I think Magical Melody just had
Yeah.
so much more content,
I knew it. Knew
so
it.
many more, so much
Mm.
stuff to do, and I want to see more games similar to this one or a remake of this one.
And so many magical notes to collect.
Yeah, honestly, it was
I
so
remember.
addictive. Like if you're a completionist, you like to collect a lot of things. Collecting the
Hmm.
notes is a lot.
Hmm.
It's a blast.
I hope they remake that one.
I really hope so. Yeah,
Hmm.
and
But I have one
yeah,
question for
yeah,
you.
yes.
What do you think is the worst Harvest Moon game?
Ooh,
Hmm. I have a
that's
couple of answers to this one.
tough. So, Back to Nature, I will say,
Hmm.
is really not the best. I know it's a lot of people's first game, but it feels like it's not as good as Friends of Mineral Town. Most of the content is the same as in Mineral Town, but I feel like Mineral
Hmm.
Town perfected it.
Hmm.
The art style and everything is very similar to Harvest Moon 64, but I feel like the controls and everything plays better in 64. So Back to Nature, I'm not too big of a fan of
You
that
think
one.
that is the worst one that you have played?
I'm trying to think. I think so. Yeah. What
Mm.
about you?
Okay.
It's still
Oh my
good though. I
god.
just want a disclaimer, like it's still a really good game.
Yeah.
But if I
Hmm.
had to like rank all the games,
Hmm.
I think it would be at the bottom.
Mm. Did you ever have you ever seen wait, I have the list here. The PlayStation Portal Harvest Moon. Hero
Oh,
of
Hero
Leaf
of Levi. I
Valley.
did play this one. So this one was
You
a
did?
remake of Save the Homeland, which we
Mm-hmm.
didn't talk about Save the Homeland because I didn't have a PS2. I assume you
No,
also
me
did.
neither.
Yeah.
Me neither. I didn't play it. I
So I
skipped it.
played a little bit of Hero of Leaf Valley.
Mm-hmm.
I've not finished it, but I quite enjoyed it.
You did enjoy it.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy anything in it.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
I like
No.
that it had a story. Like you had to prevent. You had like 1 year to prevent them from like building a theme park in the
Mm-hmm.
town. So I love the stake. I love the yeah. I love that there was a story, and also I think there were multiple endings in that game, kind of
Okay.
like in Save the Homeland. The characters were fun. Also, a lot of characters in Magical Melody are
Mm-hmm.
characters from Harvest Moon Super Nintendo and Harvest Moon
Mm-hmm.
Save the Homeland and Hero of the Leaf Valley. So I could
Mm-hmm.
recognize a lot of the characters because I played Magical Melody before. So I was like, oh my gosh, I know this one. I know this one. So
Mm.
maybe I had a little bit of that. Maybe that's why I liked it more. What is it you didn't
Mm.
like?
I don't know. I didn't feel like I had. I didn't feel the fun factor. It's
Hmm.
difficult to describe, but I felt like it was really slow, and nothing I did mattered. And I was growing impatient. I remember I played it on the Vita.
Mm,
It's a PS
yeah.
Portal. Portal. I'm playing PlayStation Portal now. I meant portable.
Yeah, yeah, PSP.
The
Yeah, when you
namings.
first said Portal, it
Yeah.
took me a while to
No, but
figure out what game you were talking about, and then
it's so
I connected
confusing.
that that's PSP.
Portable.
Yeah, because they're both like PSP. Yeah, they're so similar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know, right?
yeah,
I didn't enjoy it, but I'm happy that you did. Good stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Honestly, that's one thing with this series. Like, there's the quality varies a lot, but there's definitely a game
Yeah.
for everybody. If you like a
Mhm.
story, there's gonna be a game for you. If you like
Mhm.
crafting, there's gonna be a game for you. If you like festivals, there's gonna be a game that's better for
Mhm.
that. So I feel like there's definitely something for everybody.
Yes.
yeah,
It's a really diverse series. Totally agree.
exactly. And if you want to go back to some of the older games we talked about, well, we have Harvest Moon Super Nintendo and Harvest Moon 64 on the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack.
Mm-hmm.
Friends of Mineral Town, there's a remake, which is more accessible. Wonderful Life, there's a remake as well. Definitely, I recommend playing the remake over the original one. So we just need remakes of Magical Melody and Tree of Tranquility. And then the other games are on the
Agree.
3DS. Yeah.
Totally agree.
So recently, Marvelous showed us a little bit more of their upcoming game. Have you
I know,
seen
right?
this trailer that was shown in the
Yeah.
Marvelous Game Showcase? Yes.
Yeah. I'm ready.
I'm so ready for this.
We
It
are
looks,
ready.
from what they were saying, it seems like they really want to work on the graphics, the
Mm-hmm.
seasons, the just like the atmosphere of the game. It does look very nice. And one thing that is interesting is that in the footage we see is there's lots of like open areas, which reminds me of a New Beginning a little bit. It seems like there will be a lot of places you can go to forage and like
Mm-hmm.
explore every day. And then at the end of the trailer, they show us a glider. So you will be able to. I don't know if. Do you think this game will be open world since we have a glider and like bigger areas?
At
Or
least open areas. Like it's gonna feel a bit more open, I think. Yes.
yeah, that's
But
what I'm hoping for.
total open world, I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Honestly, I don't know how to feel with open world farming
Mm-hmm.
games because I didn't Winds of Anthos. I felt like it was
Mm-hmm.
tedious to go from one town to the other.
It was big.
I like to
Yeah.
have just one town
Mm-hmm.
and like some surrounding areas to explore. It seems like there will
Mm-hmm.
be more to explore, but yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
hope it's not like too crazy big, but
Mm-hmm.
still like bigger
There's
than
a fine
what we're used to.
line. There we need the balance, the perfect balance between big and small. Yes.
Exactly, and we want areas filled with things to do, right?
Yeah, I mean that is the worst. If a game is like open world and it's they are going for size of the world, but the world is empty. There's nothing in it that is interesting. It's not put equally as much detail into a bigger world than it was if it was smaller. Then I think they are going against what they're trying to do. I would
Exactly.
much more prefer like a more compact world that has a lot of more interesting things to interact with and do in than just a big world, you know.
Any day, yeah. Especially in a farming
Any
sim
day.
where you have to go back home every night. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily always have the time to go like super far, and it can be stressful. So I'm definitely more, yeah, just like you. I prefer like a more compact, well crafted,
Mm-hmm. There is a
small
perfect
one.
balance to be
Yeah,
had. Yes,
definitely. So this game, do you think it will come out for the Switch, or do you think because they've not announced any platforms
I
yet,
think so.
Switch or the next one?
I have a feeling that we are gonna be stuck with a Switch for a tiny bit more.
Yeah,
I don't know. And you? I mean, we could hope.
it could be both.
It
I don't
could
know.
be a dual release.
Because
Maybe?
Olive Town was struggling a little bit on the Switch, especially if you decorated your farm a lot. I don't know if there will be decorating in this one,
Oh yeah.
but the world will be
It
bigger.
was
So
actually struggling, yes.
yeah, so I'm a little bit worried because it does look a little bit. It looks quite similar to Olive Town, but I think like a tiny bit better. And I know
Do
they
you think
want.
there will be a lot of crafters?
I think not too many because when Olive Town came out, I think they were
Mhm.
listening to the feedback a lot, and they did improve
Yeah.
the game. They made the makers a little bit better, so you could like queue up to 10 items, and they fixed a lot of the things that players did not like as much as they could fix with the game that was already out. So I feel like they got it that people don't like makers, ugly
Hmm.
makers everywhere on the farm.
Yeah,
So
ugly makers.
yeah,
True.
I hope it goes back to something more like Wonderful Life or Mineral Town where you can make milk, butter, yogurt, like little things like that. But I don't
Hmm.
want to have to transform everything like wool into yarn, then a yarn into cloth, and like
Oh yeah. Like a
lumber,
long chain of events.
long chain of things and like too much crafting.
Yeah.
I like foraging. I like small crafting,
Me too.
but
Foraging, love
yeah.
that. Fishing, collecting insects.
Is there anything you're worried about for this next game, or something you're really excited for?
I'm worried about performance if it's
Mm.
dropping on the Switch. I'm always worried about performance, and I've been increasingly more and more worried about any game when it comes to the Switch and when it comes to performance. That is such a deal breaker. I mean, the older I get, the more that is a deal breaker to me. That a game is like performing terribly because it's just ripping me out of the experience so much. Uh,
Yeah.
do you feel the same? Like when a game lags, straight up lags?
Yeah, if it's too bad, I'm pretty like lenient. For example, like Rune Factory 5, it didn't bother me too much. I know it
Yeah,
bothered.
true. That is true. I did enjoy that one, even though despite all of the lags.
Yeah.
True.
I feel
I
like
was able to see past that.
yeah. So I was fine with Rune Factory. Olive Town was not too bad. But with this game, if they want to add more weather effects, they talked about like blizzards and like storms, and like you can see the leaves flying around
Hmm.
in the trailer as well. So I feel like if they add more weather effects and everything, it's just gonna be more demanding. So honestly, I wouldn't mind if this just released on the next console. We don't have a
Yeah,
release
me
date.
too. I was about to say that.
I
I
wouldn't
agree
mind
with
waiting
you.
if it meant that the game was gonna
I
look
agree
and
with
run better.
you.
Yeah, yeah,
The horse is so cute, though.
it is. It is.
Like
Oh,
the close up of the flowers, that looks good too. Has like a black outline.
yeah, it definitely looks great. I can't wait to look at these crops. They're so beautiful.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can't wait to play this game. I can't wait to know more about
Hmm.
it. You'll probably play it on your channel, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Talk about it on your channel, review it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, so that is pretty much it for our Story of Seasons discussion. Honestly, it was so nice to chat about all of these older Harvest Moon games with you. It makes me want to go back. I kind of want to go back
Me
to Magical
too.
Melody now.
I want to go
Maybe.
to Tale of Two Towns.
Recently, I went back to my childhood save file of Friends of Mineral Town. It was
Hmm.
so nostalgic to like go back to my old save file of when I was like maybe 10 or like 11 years old.
Oh my
And
god, cute.
I was so bad. I think I was like in year 2 or 3, and I had like not a lot of animals. I didn't have
I
a lot
know,
of friends.
right?
Like I was like,
Going
what?
back
I was
to
like, what was I doing? I was so bad.
I know, right? That is the feeling that I have too when I go back to old saves. I'm like, I knew nothing back then. I
Yeah,
would do it so much more differently right now. I would do it like this and this and this. I know, right? But
definitely.
that is the cute charm of it. That you remember when you see your old save file and how bad you did.
Hmm.
That you have come a long way, and it's
Exactly.
kind of charming.
And that's one thing with these games. There's no like wrong way to play. So like even if you're a kid and you don't know what you're doing, you still like figure it out, and you
Yes.
still have a good time.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I want to discuss some small news. Recently, just this week, they started airing the Sakuna of Rice and Ruin anime,
Hmm.
which I forgot that was a thing. So this just started. It is available on Crunchyroll. You can watch with the subtitles. I've not watched it yet. I don't really watch anime, actually. Do you?
No, I've never watched anime in my life. I mean, I watched Pokemon back in the day, but that was pretty much the only one. Also, Snufkin, we grew up with that one. But now, it's funny that you mention it. The past week, Ishaman, you know, my husband, he
Yeah.
was like, we should watch some anime. And he wanna watch Alchemist, Full Metal
Oh
Alchemist.
yeah.
And I'm like, I've never watched anime in my life. So now we're on episode 5 of
Okay.
Full Metal Alchemist.
You like it so
No,
far?
okay.
Yeah. Okay. I don't. So just like you, like I've watched Pokemon when I was a kid, but that was pretty much
Yeah.
it. But Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, I loved that game so much. It was such a
Hmm.
unique farming sim. You were the only crop you would do was rice, but it was so realistic, and like each step was like a different
Oh, yeah.
mini game, a different thing, and it was just so
Very
unique, so
comprehensive.
refreshing. And there was also like some side scroller combat in there in the game after farming. It was
Mm.
so much fun. The characters were charming. The story is interesting to follow along. So I'm really looking forward to that anime. I just wanted to talk about it because I feel like not a lot of people know that they're
Yeah,
starting doing
I
an
think it's
anime.
It's good that you highlighted. I
Yeah.
mean, I do know there is an Atelier Ryza anime. Maybe I want to watch that sometime.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. I also watched the Neptunia anime back in 2016.
Okay. So
I
they're
just
doing a lot
remember.
of animes based on games. I feel like
Yeah, that would be the only time I would be interested normally.
yeah. Would you like a story of
Maybe.
seasons anime?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. Like
Like a little
mid,
slice of life, like a little like casual.
maybe.
Maybe Rune Factory would be better.
Maybe
But
Rune
then
Factory actually would be better. Yeah.
there's more story, there's more like lore
Mhm.
and
Mhm. Yeah.
things. Yeah. Well, yes. So
Agree.
that's this second of our Cinderella anime. Just wanted to talk about it quickly. But Isha, it
Mhm.
was so much fun to chat with you. And I'm sorry for watchers on YouTube. My earphones keep falling off, so I keep readjusting them every 30 seconds. I don't know if anyone noticed. Uh, and if you're watching on YouTube, I'm actually wearing my cosplay today of
Mhm.
Pete from this one is the Harvest 64 version, but very similar from other games as well.
I
So
know. You
yeah,
asked me if I had some overalls myself, and I was like, no, I don't have any. But I
yeah,
should have some.
you should for the next time. So we do have
Yeah.
some kind of dress code here. Usually our guests
I
wear overalls.
know.
So someone please send Isha some overalls. Yeah, someone send some overalls to her, please. But yeah, it was so much fun chatting with you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, reminiscing
Thank you for
some older
having me.
games. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.